So when we look at the springtime, it breaks into three signs. The first impression, the dynamic, the cardinal sign of the Aries starts the theme with this, the passions, the act of the passion, the action of springtime. Can't sit back and go, I got to break up. There's more daylight. I got to do things. So the Aries impulse, the passions of spring. That's there. The light is resurrected from its wintry grave. Easter's in this period, the resurrection. So you have the daylight increases. And it's stronger than night. So that impulse comes in. Then it gets anchored down into things, into the world. It's like, it's getting warm. I'm doing more. Well, I may as well plant some seeds and make some things and make it more substantial. Imagine if you plant one little seed, one little mustard seed, or one little seed, it can make this big plant or big tree and get all those things in a few months without doing too much more for it. So if we plant a whole bunch, well, we'll have enough food to get us through the winter. But really it's time to do it. Let's just put our energy into consolidate, into making something happen or having something from it. It consolidates it. So the heat and the warmth and the melted waters and the warmth in Aries comes in and warms the earth in Taurus. And then the air gets warmed in Gemini and it starts moving, it starts mutable air. It starts being muted. So from the plants growing, you start having the seeds and the pollen in the air and hay fever season, and all the fertilization and cross-pollination is coming up through June, through Gemini. That's the distribution through the air of this life force. So we get those three. These are all profound logics and simple things, but they're simple, but you can think about it deeper and go over all the stuff, see how it connects and how it aligns. We have a bunch of things to come together. So I'm just relating this to color. This is the first association to color theory and how it fits to the zodiac. So then in the summer, you have the 1, 2, 3 again. You have the amount of water in Cancer. How wet it is in Cancer will determine how much the crops will grow. And that wetness, the moist earth with the seeds and the plants and the moist earth, well, the seeds are long since planted, but it allows things to grow more by taking in the water. And then as it gets consolidated in the fire by the heat of the summer. The fixed Leo is fixed by, depending how much warmth there is in Leo, it heats the water and everything grows and we have our crop. If you don't have much water and there's too much heat, the corn's going to be really narrow and just not full cobs of corn. It's not going to be a good harvest. But if you have enough water, just enough water, if you have too much water, there's not enough heat, again, it messes up the crops. This idea of the growth of the water and the moisture, making sure you're watering your plants to make them keep growing, and then making sure they get enough sunlight and get some heat so that you can get your harvest. And you can see by the time you get to the earth, is mutable earth in Virgo, and you start to see how the life is distributed and what's around, what's available, how well it's going to be, and how much you have to do to. It's one thing to plant, but boy, it's a lot of work to get everything off the plants and the harvest to protect, keep it, and preserve it. Whatever. So the idea, once you get it all, that's the Virgo. Then you get into the fall. And in the fall, you have the air of Libra, the cardinal air is the coldness of air, how dry the air is, determines the beginning of the nature of the fall. So whether it gets cold, whether it gets warm, whether it's late or so, like when the trees turn, usually by the time you get to the Scorpio, the cold, the fixed water, that air of Libra, the beautiful air of the fall, ends up being really moist and damp and rainy or snowy or cold coming in to the Scorpio. And at that point, if you haven't got enough crops and you haven't got enough things, you're going to have to kill an animal or two to get through the winter. Okay, so that judgment is there. Then as the heat is falling away, it's getting darker and darker, and there's moisture coming in, and at some point it's going to turn into snow if you're north enough, or south enough. But in that, by Sag, you're running around looking for all the fire and all the light you can see in so many different directions to accumulate a lot of places of light rather than just the blatant source. So this is one structure of going through the zodiac, of the light and darkness of the planting season. Most people aren't living in touch with the planting season. We're in civilization that's got away from nature and it's got sickly because it's not in touch with the life force. But if you're in touch with life force, these things are very distinct. That symbolism is very distinct, and it is the foundation of applying cardinal, fixed, mutable signs and fire, water, air signs, that structure, and going around the zodiac. That's one of the nicest ways of interpreting the tropical zodiac. The tropical zodiac means seasonal zodiac. It's based on the tropical seasons. And the colors of the zodiac is the phenomena of the tropical zodiac. You wouldn't put it to the sidereal or other zodiacs. It's in the color. It's the familiar thing that we can relate to so much. So we get from our 4 seasons, you have you get the 1, 2, 3, the 12 divisions, the 12 signs, you have the zodiac to the color. We're going to go through this in much more detail, but just when you put this to a chart, we look at a chart, we have the symbols and the signs, we have the colors, we have the 4 seasons, and this is looking at our chart wheel from last week. We looked at as the sidereal signs and the constellations. Constellations are starlight, that's different than the seasons, different interpretation, but our seasonal factor, that's the colors. So this is our first logic of aligning the color to the sign of the zodiac. It's not one, there's a whole other way of aligning the colors and seeing how it fits to the zodiac. It's a double confirmation, but this is the first, most primary one, the light and the darkness and the color and how it fits with it. Okay, so I'm going to get out of this one and get to this one. Okay. The first one existed was an add-on to the original class, but this is some of the early charts I did. It's a little dark because these charts were done by colored pencil. I hand drew them, made the forms, I hand drew them, and they took a few hours to make, but it's all color coded. So you have each sign has its color. Your planets are in a certain sign, and it sends out colors from the sign it's in, and it makes this mandala. And it's basically your chart making up this mandala. And everything in color means something. In the symbols below, the colors all mean something. The little turtle on the bottom right, it's a heliocentric view of this geocentric chart. I'm not going to stay on this. But when you get the color theory, every painter, anyone working with color, a printer, a painter, is going to know how to mix colors. So when you get to the theory of color, oh boy, I don't remember all the names. There's a book on the theory of color, I think it's by Itten, but it really, you go through the nature of color. And anyone taking design, anyone taking painting or working with color has to know the mechanics, the physical mechanic colors. It starts with 3 primary colors. There's 3 basic colors: red, yellow, and blue. In ink, there's 3 colors of ink. You know, cyan, magenta. Oh boy, it's the red, yellow, and blue again. It's I forget. Having a Mercury day. Anyways, we're in color more than in thought, so the color will keep guiding us along. Red, yellow, and blue. 3 basic colors, 3 basic energies. And each one very distinct from each other. You know, passion, action of red, the glory and the brightness and the radiance of yellow, and the depth of the blue. The next 3 colors are made from the first 2 colors. The second 3 colors, the secondary colors, are orange, purple, orange, green, and purple. These colors have changed from the original ones. This should be a brighter orange, brighter green, brighter purple, but it serves the purpose. This was going back a ways before, when you're dealing with color printing or Photoshop, if you have red, blue, green, you can get colors for the screen, but if you're doing it for printing, you have to use red, blue, green, and black. And it makes the colors a little darker than the light. You have to allow for the, anyways, that's part of the printing mechanics, like painting mechanics. How do you mix the colors? But orange comes from red and blue, red and yellow. Green comes from yellow and blue. And purple comes from blue and burgundy. Blue and red, or blue and red makes the purple. So these are the secondary colors. So you have 3 primary colors, 3 secondary colors. And then that makes 6 primary and secondary colors. They fit to red, yellow, blue, orange, green, and purple. So you see the red, yellow is orange. The yellow, blue makes green. The blue, red makes purple. Well, there's all sorts of things talking about the 6 rays, like Gurdjieff does a lot of things talking about the 6 rays or the 6 colors. You often talk about the 7th being a mix of them all, but in color is basically 6 basic colors or rays or frequencies that come in, from which there's 3 basic ones. They duplicate and they become 6. It's binary logic. And then you have 6 primary colors. Then there's 6 tertiary colors. And the 6 tertiary colors are, sorry, let's get this. They're a little bit off of they're in between the other 6 colors. So just as we had orange between yellow and red, here between red and between red and orange, we have a red-orange. Between orange and yellow, we have an amber, or yellow-orange. Between yellow and green, we have a yellow-green, which can be a bright yellow-green, or it can be a khaki yellow-green. There's still a yellow-green. Then between green and blue, and the blues are the colors I'm mentioning are missing one. The primary ones are not in this picture between, but they make the teal, or the aquamarine. And then between the blue and the purple, they make a darker blue, an indigo type of thing. And then between the purple and the red, between the purple and the red, you get a burgundy. So these are the tertiary colors. You have primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. Secondary colors are your orange, green, and purple. And your tertiary colors are the 6 mixed between the 2. So the 3 make 6, the 6 make 6 more. Okay, and from that 6 more, we end up with 12 basic colors. There's red, blue, red, blue, and green. Red, yellow, blue. Then you see the orange, green, and purple in between it. This is the scale. This is like instead of musical scales, this is the scales of music. This is of color. It's the way they work together. Once you understand the scales and you see the frequencies and how they work, wow, it becomes a natural association, natural phenomenon, and it's a dimension you can begin to work with. To understand color, you have to come to understand these things, understand these perspectives. So you see the tertiary colors. There's the red, orange, and there's the red and the orange. There's the red, orange in between. There's the orange and the yellow, and the amber, yellow, orange coming between it. Orange, by the way, is probably the most difficult color when you're painting. It's the most difficult color to get correct. It can be too much on the red side, or it can be too much on the amber, or yellow. So like getting a correct orange is a really difficult thing to do. Then you have the yellow green, which makes that yellow green. Then you have yellow or green blue, which gives the teal or aquamarine type color. Then you have the blue and the purple, which gives this is not dark enough. It should be more of an indigo color, a deep blue. And the purple and the red should come to a burgundy. I'm gonna have to redo these colors. They say it, but they're not as bright or as clear as they could be. Okay, so when we want to take this into the zodiac, we start with the 12 primary colors. 3, second set of the primary, the secondary colors, and then the tertiary colors. And